Welcome to Perception versus Reality Sports and Culture, where we cover sports from a different angle and bring you topics most podcasts and radio shows will not cover. I'm your host, Rodney870, and welcome my co-hosts, Neely, Mr. Sports IQ, Lemuel, aka Lemwood, and Stanley, known on Instagram as Third World 870. Please enjoy this PvR clip and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
I really want to touch on that subject, man. That was a touchy subject for me. But let's talk about the current state of the Dallas Cowboys. The current state of the Dallas Cowboys. So my Cowboys have lost 3 straight games. New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers at home. New Orleans Saints on the road, Green Bay Packers at home, and New York Jets on the road. New York Jets was a bad loss. And that's one of those losses where you might have to look at what's next with your coaching staff, because you have a good enough team to win, but you're not winning. And so we're currently at 3-3, tied for first in the NFC East with the Eagles. And you could put this blame on multiple people, multiple players and coaches. You could say that maybe Dak hadn't performed as well as he did early in the year. First 3 games, we played against losing teams. Dak was 920 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, 124 quarterback rating, 74 completion percentage. The last 3 games, 963 yards. So that's a little deceiving versus the first stat, because most of those yards came when we were down by 20 points in the second half. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 82 quarterback rating, and 66 completion percentage. So completion percentage drops 8 points. Quarterback rating dropped almost 40 points. Touchdowns down 7. Interceptions plus 2. So quarterback play has been not as good as it was early. So that's an issue. Defense only 14 sacks this year. 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, 5 total turnovers. How do you have 5 total turnovers in 6 games? That's not good. That's terrible. Defense played solid the first 2 games. They played against mediocre teams. Against the Saints, they actually looked pretty good. So 4 games, I would give the defense credit. They played good in 4 games. The last 2 games, they hadn't looked that good. They've been, I would say, the pass defense has been terrible. Jones got beat a couple of times. Lewis got beat a couple of times. Safety's not looking good. And it's just hadn't been good at all defensively the last 2 games. Especially some of the plays you gave up a 92-yard touchdown to the Jets. That was ugly. Safety didn't close in on the play. And Ezekiel Elliott can be a part of the problem. Zeke only is getting 18 attempts per game this year, and only 18 receptions versus the 77 he had last year. So I think we need to get the ball in Zeke's hands a little more to turn this thing around. And we can't forget about the injuries. You had offensive lineman Tyron Smith and Collins out. You had Amari Cooper to go out, and you had I can't think of his name. The guy that we just signed from the Packers. He's been out. He was out after last game. So you had quite a few injuries that you had to fight your way through. So that's understandable. Dak didn't have all his weapons out there, but still, it's the Jets. 0-4. You're supposed to beat the Jets. I think one thing that we have to do is accept the fact that Dak is what he is right now. And can he become a better quarterback, a quarterback that could carry a team without everything going well? I think he can if he continues to grow, if he continues to improve his game. But right now, he's showing you that he's just that quarterback that can, I won't say manage a game, because he's a little more than a game manager. But he's a person that he needs a good running game. He needs defense to be playing well, and then he'll look like a superstar. Needs the line. He will need the line to be blocking well. So I think as Cowboy fans, we have to accept Dak for what he is. He's never going to be a top 5 quarterback. He's not going to be. If he does, it will surprise me. But right now, from what I'm seeing, this is his 4th year. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. But I think he could be a quarterback that if he's willing to take $20 to $25 million a year, we could work with him because he's good enough. He doesn't. He don't make turnovers like Jameis Winston. So he's not going to lose you the game often. and he can make big plays in clutch moments. I've seen him do it several times. So Dak Prescott is what he is. Nothing more, nothing less. And we have to accept that as Cowboy fans. He's not going to be like a Romo. He's not going to be like a Starback or Aikman or something like that. He's going to be Dak, who's going to have decent stats, who's going to pass the ball decent in moments. But if you lose a couple of things, like Aaron Rodgers won 2 tough games without his top receiver, and then last game without his top 2 receivers. Zeke needs the ball a minimum of 25 times, whether it's a pass, catching, or rushing, 25 plus times. And I think Jason Garrett got to go. I think Sunday, if we don't win the game Sunday, I think you got to let go of Jason Garrett. And Skip Bayless said something about Jason that I found quite interesting and something I've really been saying for years. I want you guys to hear it.
My head coach. He knows the X's and O's just fine. He's a solid football-minded football coach. I get that. But when it comes to motivating, he is the worst I've ever seen in all my years covering pro football that dates back to covering the Rams in Los Angeles in the 1970s. And that was Chuck Knox. Do you remember Chuck Knox? And he was kind of a zero personality, but he had a little fire. Round Chuck, and they just ran the balls, ran it, and they ran most of the fans right out of the stands because the Coliseum would be half full for teams that won the division every year after year after year.
They did.
Didn't usually go anywhere in the playoffs till finally they broke
79.
through. Yeah, they finally broke through with Jack Youngblood and Vince Ferragamo. But the point is, that was after Chuck Knox was gone. But Chuck Knox had fur in his belly, and I just don't sense any in Jason Garrett. So what happens every year? What happened last year? They had, what did I tell you? I told you, Jenny, this last week. I said, I don't care if they lose to the Jets. You said, I don't think you.
I know you said.
So as you heard, Skip Bayless broke it down the way I feel. Jason Garrett doesn't motivate the team anymore, and that's just how I feel. I feel like he's been a voice his voice doesn't matter to the team anymore, and sometimes you just need a new voice in there. And I think that's what they need right now. I would give them reins to, I guess, the defense coordinator. He's not the defensive coordinator, but he called the plays, Chris Rashad or something like that. The black defensive coach that called plays. I would give him a shot at it the rest of the year and see what he could do. And if he could go 5-3 or 6-2 or something like that, I would give him a shot at the head coaching position. Give him like a 2-3 year contract. But Jason Garrett, if we don't win Sunday, he has to go. You can't keep him around and continue to waste his talent because these players' contracts are starting to come up, and you're not going to be able to keep everybody, especially if you give Dak $30+ million, which I think is crazy. I think you got to look at a different coach and go in a different direction. And it's going to be tough to make the playoffs starting out 3-3. Looking at our schedule, we have Philly twice. We got Minnesota at home. We got Detroit, New England on the road. We got Buffalo at home. December, we have Chicago on the road, which is going to be cold as hell. We have the Rams at home. And we have Philly on the road. It's going to be cold there, a division game. It's going to be tough. And you look at Philly December schedule, they have Miami, New York twice, and Washington. So if we're going to win this division, we got to win it early. Because going into December, you got Chicago, the Rams, and Philly, and they have New York twice, Washington, and Miami. Those are 4 guaranteed wins. So when we go into December, we got to at least have a 2-game lead and a tiebreaker over Philly to have a shot at the division. So it's going to get tough for us. So everybody got to come back healthy. We got to be ready to make this run starting Sunday. If you look at the wild card, you got Seattle 5-1, you got Minnesota 4-2, you got Carolina 4-2, you got Detroit 2-1. So that wild card team both wild card teams I say will win 10+ games, 10 or 11 games. So that means I think the division winner might win 9 games. So you're not going to get a wild card. So our route in the playoffs is the division. So we got to take out the Eagles twice. We got to get a 2-game lead going into December with the tiebreaker. And I think that's our route. But it's going to be a tough route. It's not going to be as easy as you think because the wild card teams are so good this year to make the playoffs. My opinion on moving forward, Jerry Jerry and the team are doing a great job at drafting. We've been drafting great for the last 7 years. As you can see, we got to pay so many. We have to pay so many people. Pay Zach Martin, pay Tyron Smith, pay Fredericks, pay Zeke. Got to pay Dak. Got to pay Jones. Just pay Jalen Smith. You gonna pay Vander Esch. You paid Collins. And you probably gonna pay Jordan Owuzie. You paid DeMarcus Lawrence. You paid Tyrone Crawford. Malik Collins coming up. So you drafted pretty damn good the last 6-7 years. You ain't cashed out on it. And the reason, because Jerry won't take risk in free agency. He would not take risk. And sometimes that's what you need to win the Super Bowl. You need to take risk. And I don't see him doing that. You see Belichick have signed Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon, even though they had major issues, because he want to win. And he feel like he could control these guys. So you have to be able to take risks. You have like the Honey Badger. You could have took a risk on him at safety. That's an upgrade at your safety position. Earl Thomas, an upgrade at your safety position. Antonio Brown, an upgrade at receiver. He crazy as hell, but you could get him for the rest of the season. You could get him cheap. Only risk I've seen him take was Amari Cooper, because at the time we traded for Amari Cooper, that pick was probably a top 10 pick, and so that was risky. We didn't know that we was gonna win 7 of the next 8 games and make the playoffs. So with the Cowboys, I would say it's going to be tough, guys. You got to keep our fingers crossed. Hope everybody get healthy and come back. Hope Dak can turn the corner these next few games. But we have to go into December with a 2-game lead on the Eagles and a tiebreaker. So it could be a 1 game in the loss column and a tiebreaker. Or it could be 2 clear games. But you're going to need 2 games. 1 game in a tiebreaker or 2 clear ones. That's what you're going to need to make the playoffs. You're not making it in the wild card. There's too many teams in the wild card. Because let's say if Seattle beat San Francisco. Now you got San Francisco in the wild card at 5-1. Let's say if Minnesota beat Green Bay. Now you got Green Bay in the wild card at 5-2. So it's going to be tough to make the wild card. Your best route is the division. You probably could win the division with 9 games. But you have to beat the Eagles twice. So that's my soapbox on the Cowboys, which I'm very disappointed in them right now. But we'll get it together. Hopefully make a run this year. I don't see Super Bowl like I thought, but I think they can make a run. So our last